Welcome to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another journey of Ignite Your Heart and Soul, right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My wonderful guest is Laila Woozeer. We're going to be talking about a fantastic subject, not quite white. Neither here nor there, neither one nor the other. What does it feel like to be an indescribable shade somewhere in between? She's the author of her memoir, Not Quite White, Neither Here Nor There, Neither One Nor the Other. What does it feel like to be an undescribable shade somewhere in between? Can you even exist in a binary world where seems so black and white? Why is there no easy way to describe someone who is Welsh, French, Scottish, American, Indian, Mauritian? Laila is a mixed race, 28-year-old from London, born writer, musician, and shares personal story of growing up in rural white village of North Wales. She takes the readers on a funny, vivid, profoundly moving journey of discovering one's own identity and belonging through her travels between Mauritius, the US, the UK, and to make sense of the world and one's place within it. We're all looking to make sense of the world and our place in it. But, from wherever, what hand we're dealt out is the hand that we feel we have to play until we realize we can actually change these cards in our hands. We can actually look at life in a different way. And through this journey, she has ignited her heart and soul and spirit to really found out who she is. And perhaps to understand that being a little of everything makes her a delicious buffet of personalities that has ignited her own heart and soul and spirit. Welcome to the show, Liv.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
My pleasure. I have children who are mixed race. They're half Chinese and half English, and with Scottish thrown in there, and apparently 1% Korean when you look at the ancestry.com, where that came
Wow,
from, I
there you
don't know.
go.
So, they grew up with, that identity. And it's like, for them, it's like, yes, I may have a Chinese father and an English mother, but A, they were Canadian, and B, they were them. But so many people want to label, label, label as if that's a definition of you. And for a child, especially growing up, it can be so utterly confusing. How was it for you growing up with all that kind of mixed identity? And especially, as you said, being brought up in a very white rural area?
Yeah, it was very difficult. I think I didn't hear the word mixed until I was about 7 years old, which I talk about one of the like early instances in the book. And not even having a word to describe myself was very difficult because obviously especially in early childhood, you're just learning what things are and what
Mm-hmm.
is the world around you and the names of things. And very small children are always asking, what's this? What's this? What's the name of this? And so to not be able to do that for myself in those like early formative years, I think did sort of rupture something, which then took a while to heal or configure as I was growing older.
I mean, definitely the configuration, and it wouldn't bother you if it didn't bother others. But why does it bother others? Why is it so important for them to label or treat you as mixed? Um, why can't they see you for who you are? And I think this is what's wrong with society. We don't look at people for the essence of who they are, the heart,
Mm.
soul, or spirit of who they are. We immediately want to look, what ethnicity are you as that's as an identification. I live here in Canada, which is extremely mixed. My own children are mixed. Many people have different, multiple cultures. They're Canadian born and from very diverse backgrounds. And in many ways, they look at that as a celebration. I can take this culture and that culture and this culture and mix it all up together and make it something of my own and look at it as something that's a blessing. But then society comes along and wants to define and label. That's their issue. It should never be yours.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I think I've thought a lot about, if I was just existing on like a desert island, if I'd somehow
Mhm.
just emerged into existence and wasn't related to anyone and was by myself, I would have no feeling one way or the
Mm.
other about the color of
Mhm.
my skin or my heritage or any of those things. Um, which is the conclusion I came to slightly later in life, where I was like, the problem is not me, the
Yes.
problem is society and the systemic racism and oppression that we live within, which forces everyone to be viewed through this sort of, yeah, race lens
Which
rather
is
than, as you
their
say,
insecurity. That's their
yeah.
insecurity. If you know, I mean, it is the way we bring children up. Instead of inclusion, it's all about division. Societal norms. You've got to fit into this bracket, that bracket. I mean, come on, look at me. I'm blue-eyed and white. But I'm a woman and a very spiritual woman. And so I went through my own difficulty of living in my identity in a world that wanted me to be X, Y, and Z. So I'm at the other end of the scale. I'm 70. So I went through all of that. Being a young person in a world that really does have a beautiful hodgepodge of people that are beautifully diverse today, instead of celebrating that and saying, kind of, is there any one culture within you that you identify with or that you feel has revealed something to yourself, and kind of exploring that in a celebratory way, and it becomes something that is a definition against you. And I just don't understand it. I don't know what society's hang up is on why it's so important, but it's taught from a very young age.
Yeah, I mean, there's studies that have been conducted with children who are asked to identify sort of characteristics and different ethnic between different ethnicity dolls. It's called the doll test.
Mhm.
And that has shown that children as young as 3 are able to identify black, brown, white
Mhm.
dolls as being different, and also that they identify the white dolls as being good
Yes.
inherently, rather
Mm.
than the black and the brown dolls. So I think there's a massive, unfortunately, we are living in like a post-colonial society where we
Mm.
do have a lot of still racial bias and systemic oppression in our societies. Like I'm here in the UK, and we have a massive problem with how race is understood and dealt with in this country, and especially in our institutions. And so there's a lot of, even though there's been a lot more conversations about raising awareness of representation and campaigning for better diversity, I think there's
Mm.
still a long way to go. Children, as you say, children from a very young age can recognize different qualities, and we have to ask ourselves, how can we move to a place where people feel accepted and equal from a
Mm.
young age. It's really so young that we start learning this pre-verbal
Yeah.
age. So if you
And
sort of thinking,
imposed.
oh yeah, waiting until children are like teenagers or something to start talking about
Mm.
race is like, there's
Yeah.
so much
Too
that has
late.
already happened by
It's
that
already
point.
out the
That's
barn.
bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to write my story starting at the age of 4, because it wasn't until I was at sort of 24, 25 that I started engaging and speaking out about, um, the issues I had faced as a person of color growing up in the UK. And people were like, oh, it can't be that bad. Surely
Mm.
it's not that bad, or like it's just the odd comment or whatever.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, everyone is missing the prior 20 years. I'm not just talking about this one
Yes.
incident that happened last week. Really, it's a cumulative thing
Mm.
of years of not being able to see myself, understand myself, and all of this extra internal work that I'd had to do that my white counterparts had not had to grapple with in the same way. And so I thought, if I start the book at such a young age, I could be anyone. I'm 4
Mm.
years old. I have no sort of discerning personality traits or whatever. Like I'm just sort of like a blank canvas. I'm
Mm.
4 years old. I thought if I start there and I bring you on the journey up to then this point where I'm like, this is messed up,
Yes.
then people will understand it more fully than just me coming in through the gate. Like, this is messed up. And people are like, whoa, where's this come from?
Yeah. 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 And you're educating people. I always say
Yeah.
when you're aware, you care. When you care, you do something about it. But you can never be
Yeah.
unaware, right? And awareness is
Mm-hmm.
something I think that we need on so many levels today. We
Mm.
look at people purely from the casing they're in. This
Mm-hmm.
is the flesh that we were born into to have this beautiful spiritual soul heart journey. It is
Mm.
the exploration of how our spirit intertwines, how our energies intertwine, how we ignite ourselves into a meaningful purpose. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful journey if we could concentrate on that. But as human beings, we haven't got beyond the casing that the soul is in. And we're
Mm.
still limiting ourselves so much by the color, the this, the that, the binary, the what sex are you, how much money do you make, how popular are you,
Yeah.
how many likes do you have, what does society
Yeah.
think of you? And if we're going to still be so stuck on that wagon, we're never going to evolve as a human race. We need to
Yeah.
start seeing people by feeling them, not in order to truly see them, we need to feel them. We need to feel the essence of who we are. Then we'll see the beauty and the character and everything else that they are. It will be revealed. But if we see skin first, then we're automatically shutting the door and everything else that they are.
Mm. Yeah. And I think it's part of the problem is that if we lack structures for people to understand themselves,
Mm.
people can't understand themselves in a way that they can then be truly known in the same way.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. If everyone could just feel who they are and understand that and then present that. But it's also like I really feel like I lacked a structure for understanding just who even I was, which
Hmm.
sounds I understand sounds bonkers as an adult. So it's like obviously you're human, you're a member of the human race, you're of the human species. But I genuinely, when I was very young, I didn't see anyone that looked like me
Yeah.
at all. And so I was like, I don't understand how this works. I remember like learning about puberty and whatever at school, and I was like, well, is that gonna happen? Like, does that happen to me? Because a load of this other stuff that happened to everyone else didn't happen to me. So,
Yeah.
what does a grown-up Welsh Mauritian look like? I'd never seen one, but I still haven't. And making it up as I go, like not having a framework, not even having a word to describe yourself.
Mm.
People are like, where are you from? What are you?
Mm.
Really hindered me in terms of being able to understand myself. And if you can't know yourself, then you can't do the next part of it of just being able to put yourself out there, as you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, and so
Find your meaningful
lacking,
purpose, right?
right.
Because you're still trying to find your identity.
Yeah, you're still in an identity crisis. You become
Yes.
trapped in this
Mm.
state of it's like you're trapped in the cocoon. It's like I
Mm.
can't I can't move forwards because I don't know who I am or what I'm supposed to be like or do, or even if I'm supposed to be able to connect with the people around me, or if I should be somewhere completely different. It's a long section where I keep thinking I should be in the place where Aladdin is set. Because in Aladdin, everyone is the same color as me. So people
Mm.
keep telling me I'm the same color as Princess Jasmine, but she's not a weird color in the world of Aladdin. She's the same color as everyone else. And
Yeah.
then getting older and being like, this isn't even a real place. This is a fictional place. Like, I can't go there because it doesn't exist. It was like,
Right.
well, where am I supposed to, like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Where am I supposed to be with people like myself? It was deeply confusing.
Yeah.
And
And even if you did, quote, quote, find that place, you would actually
yeah,
be a foreigner to them because you weren't born
yeah,
there. Right. And that's the thing
yeah,
is that we concentrate so much on differences and separation rather than we do than inclusion. I look at people
yeah,
with, I mean, I think that you were given a gift of all these wonderful cultures because that means your DNA has so many things to draw from, which means opens up to so many beautiful possibilities of how you can use this gift and in what way. It has chosen you to be a voice, to be a voice of inclusion. Stop looking at the casing. Stop judging me from, the definition of my DNA, and see me as a person and the struggles that
Mm,
I go through. There isn't a human being that doesn't go through struggles, whether they're lily white or multicolored or whatever the case. Everybody goes through struggles from one way or the other. But to still have racism in this day and age, where we look at people as, well, you're different, so therefore, what do you mean, therefore? Therefore, what?
mm,
Right? You've passed judgment before you've even said hello. You've passed judgment before you've even felt what this person is like. And this is what's wrong with human society. And so
mm,
I feel a lot of your life has been trying to fit in by society's expectation, where really your journey in writing the book and finding yourself is to ignite your own heart and soul and to love who you are for who you are,
mm.
despite what society wants.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was sort of about 13, 14 where I made a conscious decision of like, am I allowed to swear on the show?
As long as it's not the F word, go fudge.
Okay, okay. Well, I was about 13, 14 where I was decided to just, yeah, sack it off. And I was like, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna partake in this anymore. Like, I'm
Right.
not going to
Good for you.
try and listen to the same music as everyone else or
Yes.
try and fit the same beauty standards. That was a big one. So
Yeah.
in the noughties, when I was a teenager, uh, the sort of prescribed beauty standards were quite narrow, sort of
Mm.
pre-internet. So it's
Yes.
kind of just famous people in films and then what
Mm.
teen magazines were telling you. And I just thought, this is not, I don't fit this. I'm just going to
Mm.
sack it off and like decide on my own version of things. I'm just going to make
Mm.
it up. I'm just going to do what I think is good. And that felt really meaningful at the time
And
because it
liberating.
was like, okay, no one seems to know what to do with me or what I'm supposed to be like. I'd been bullied at school for years at that point, and I was like, I know without a shadow of a doubt, everyone thinks I'm awful. Everyone thinks I am ugly and I am stupid and I'm a loser and I'm gross. I get that. I've been told that so many times. I understand it and I accept it, but I also do not care. I just don't care. I like
Exactly.
myself. I think
Yes.
I look fine. I like
Yeah.
hanging out with myself. I make myself
Yes.
laugh. I do things that I think are interesting. I like the way my brain works. I like the way my body moves. I like the way my voice sounds. I like the way I exist. And I remember it so clearly just being like, I can't be bothered anymore. Like,
Very
fine,
good.
these people don't
Yes.
like me. I have to live the rest of my life
With
as
you.
myself. And I love
Yes.
myself. I wouldn't want to be
Exactly.
anyone else. And that was, yeah, I was about 13, 14. It was the end of year 9. So whatever age that is. I would have been 14. Um, yeah, and just sort of rejecting the standards. And just,
Bravo.
I think from there, it was realizing it was all sort of set up against me.
Yeah.
And it was the next few years where I sort of learned about the British Empire, learned about colonization, learned about what happened to my ancestors, learned why I wasn't learning about any of that at school and why I had
Hmm.
to learn that, from my dad or on the internet, learning why everyone in power was white, learning why so many people, why I was only seeing white people, why I was never seeing people
Mm.
like myself. And I just sort of got more and more angry and more and more emboldened in my choice of rejecting what I had been sort of
Mm.
told or led to
Yeah.
believe or made to feel as a child. I just thought, this is wrong. Like,
Yeah.
this is just deeply wrong. And it's propping up many, many, many hundreds of years of
Ah.
wrongdoing. And I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be complicit in that. I want to
No,
be
no.
outside of it.
Bravo, bravo for you at 14 realizing that, and because that is the age where we so desperately want to fit in and be a
Yeah.
part of something, and for you to go, well, fudge it, I'm not going to be a part of it because, quite honestly, I don't like your arena. It's mean and nasty, right? So
Yeah.
I am going to be quite happy with who I am, and you can take it or leave it. But quite honestly, I leave you because you're not very nice. And
Yeah.
And that's standing up to bullying. That is and you've got to understand, for people like that, we can't always place blame directly on them. We have to put blame on the society that's brought them up, that's told them that's okay to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Inherently, these people aren't generally bad to the core. They've just
Mm.
been led down the wrong road. And
Hmm.
until they have a wake up, until they have a shake up, until they're willing to stand up and change it up and grow up, they're not going to realize their actions are so detrimental. And especially
Mm.
when you've got a group of them egging each other on. And it's
Yeah.
mob mentality. And, right now we're seeing this on steroids in America. And,
Yeah.
and which is really, really, really bad over there. And what has it done? It's the white men, insecure, narcissistic, megalomaniac, misogynistic white men who are petrified of
Yeah.
women or anybody of color, because they know that, quite honestly, they'd go and get things done where they're still waffling and puffing and everything else. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that America has chosen to go backwards, but I'm looking at as a slingshot, because I think it's going to backfire them, and it's going to propel us. Um, I'm in Canada, not America, but it's going to propel them a hell of a lot further when that slingshot is shot forward, and will leave them in the dust. But it's a reminder.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, it's going to be a while, but it's a reminder to everyone else that we made so many strides forward, and then suddenly we took leaps backwards. And we don't want colonialism. I mean, I come from that. My grandfather was a colonel in the British Army in
Mm.
India. My mother was born in India. Um, she was racist to a point, um, but it came from that servitude attitude where people were her servants, what
Hmm.
she grew up with, right? So
Yeah.
my 10-year-old daughter is saying to her, Grandma, you are so racist, I won't tolerate this. And my
Mm.
mother being kind of surprised at being called out,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
because she just didn't realize that she was being so racist.
Yeah.
And so we have to look at where people are out and what they've been taught. And instead of persecuting back, it's educating, hitting the empathy and the compassion button and saying,
Yeah.
do you realize how cruel you sound, how mean you sound? Do you really want to be this person? Can I educate you on exactly what you are doing, and and ask yourself why you are doing it? But for a lot of people, they're
Yeah.
unaware. It is up to us to make them aware that their actions have consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I mean, obviously, I have white family members who are, as discussed in the book, very racist, hold a lot of racist views, but they're not, they're not like members of the KKK. I
Right.
don't think they would describe themselves as racist. And it was when I called it out. But I agree that often what they need is education. But I think it's a bit tricky if the person of color in the situation has to be the educator.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the answer either, because it's so exhausting trying to
Mm.
exist within a racist society already. And
Yeah.
you know, we as POC, we shouldn't also have to be like the bearers of our own
Right.
history, or charged with being master communicators and communicating why things are racist. It was interesting having the conversations with my own family, because they were so, I think, shocked when I started calling them out on their behaviors, or saying, you know, a lot of my family live in a very small town in like a very white part of the United States. And I was like, I don't want to go visit them there. I don't feel comfortable. Everyone in that town is white. And
Mm.
my mum was like, well, they're all really friendly. They all welcome you. They all would love to have you to stay. They'd love to see you. And I was like, I know, I'm not doubting that they won't try and make me feel at home, but I don't feel at home because it's such a white environment. And there's no concession to me not being super white and Christian the way that they are.
Yeah.
And I think these were things that my father had felt, but he'd never explained. So he just
Mm.
declined the invitation over and over again to go and visit them, which could be interpreted as like he doesn't like them, or he's
Yeah.
not friendly, or he's standoffish. None
Yeah.
of which is the case, but it's like he's darker skinned than I am, and it's like, yeah, of course he doesn't feel comfortable going there.
Hmm.
And my mum would be like, well, why would he never say that to, my mum's sister, my aunt and uncle? Why would dad not just say that? And I'm like, he shouldn't have to say that. Like, they
Yes.
have eyes, they're adults. They should be able to see if we bring my dad there, he's going to be the only person this color in the whole village. The whole village is super white and Christian. They're going to know that he would feel uncomfortable. Like it's sort of, there has to be some impetus for self-education, I think if
Yes.
you're the person always calling it out, it's just really exhausting. it's,
Yeah.
it's really tiring
Well, the
and often
education needs to
involves
be in family, it needs to be in schools, it needs to be in churches.
schools. Yeah,
It,
100%.
it has to be everywhere. I mean, last year, shameless plug, here we go. Last year I put out a book, Our Forgotten Children. It's championing the change and raging out tomorrow's leaders, and an anthology around each person contributing a chapter on the raising
Mm-hmm.
of our children and what we're not aware of.
Right.
And it's back to that awareness. And I think right from the home level, we need to look at families that may feel different and make them feel inclusive and teach
Yeah.
people this is again just the casing they're in. It may be a beautiful culture they bring to the table. Get to know what their culture is. This is
Yeah.
something they're sharing with you. Stop treating them as different in a sense of less than. They're different for the culture they bring, but I'm a white person. I bring a white culture, right? So
Yeah.
how do we put on the table all of our cultures and celebrate each
Yeah.
culture in a way that we're
Yeah.
not looking at each other as, oh, you're different, instead of, oh, I'd love to know what your culture
Yeah.
is, how to celebrate, educate me on your culture, um, and be open to it. But we have to start that. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old grandson. We have another one on
Oh.
the way in less than 2 months. And so it is up to us. And of course, my daughter is half Chinese, and she is a little whiter than you in the skin, but dark hair, dark thing. And her husband is dirty blonde and lily skin. But both kids are pink with strawberry blonde hair, right? So we don't know if this third one is going to be a throwback to her or not. So people see her with that and think, is she the nanny? You know, I used
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to get that because my kids were your coloring and I'm blue. I was blonde,
Yeah.
and I go, well, are you the nanny? And it's like,
Yeah.
I distinctly remember giving birth. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and again, it's like, don't make assumptions. Ask, right?
Yeah.
And it's ask in an inquisitive way, not in a way that makes somebody feel uncomfortable. But if you are truly curious, it's okay to address it and ask in a way that is invitational and not where somebody feels, oh, what's going to come from this, right? And so I think
Right.
it has to start with the families. It has to be in the churches, whatever faith anybody is. And quite honestly, if you spout God's love, then you better practice it or cross the
Yeah.
board, right? This isn't
Yeah.
God only for white supremacists. This is a God who does not see color, who sees heart and soul and spirit, right? So,
Yeah.
and if we cannot practice that kind of love, do not tell me you're a person of God.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. I think you're right. It needs to start at home and needs to start quite young. And
Yeah.
I think any white person sort of entering a relationship with a person of color, there is a responsibility to like familiarize yourself with, okay, well, what's going on here contextually? What's my
Mm.
partner experiencing that I'm not? Unfortunately, we do, especially here in the Western world, we do live within like a white supremacist society. I think my mum was not particularly aware of anything my dad had faced,
Mm.
since coming to the UK. And I don't think that's like, I mean, it is a negative, but I don't think that's her as in a unique place as a white person from that generation. I think my
Mm.
dad was not inclined to share stuff, and she
Mm.
probably didn't ask or feel like there was a need to know. I think really in the
Yeah.
last 10 years, there's been a lot of people realizing, like, oh my goodness, I had no idea
Yeah.
you were going through all this.
Mm.
Even for me, like, obviously, I'm the generation down. After my book came out, in 2022 in the UK, I had so many white friends be like, people that I'd known for years be like, I had no idea
Mhm.
you had to deal with any of this. I had absolutely no idea. And it's like, yeah, why would I sit down and tell you about this? You know, like these things are difficult enough to go through. And then if I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it to a fellow POC who gets it. Like it
Mm.
costs a
Yes.
lot to try and explain that or relive those circumstances. It costs even more to try and explain why it was wrong or
Yeah.
what was so wrong about it. And you know, it took me writing a whole book
Yeah.
to be able to explain it. That can't be what we expect of just every single peer. Like, you know, we can't all go around writing books. Maybe we can, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll read them all. But
No,
I
we've
think,
got to learn to have a conversation, and that conversation has to start
yeah,
right at childhood. We have to give our children permission to talk. And like a child who feels different, my kids went through it at school where they were called chink or this or that,
mm,
um, and it's, we did a discussion on this, and it's like that is their limitation. It's no reflection on you. That's their
yeah,
understanding from their own ignorance. And so it's for them to understand this isn't your problem, it's their problem. And you can either try and educate them on it because it may come just from ignorance. But if it comes from malice, you can't do anything about it. That person
yeah,
has to own that malice. And it's empowering the children to understand other people's ignorance or nastiness isn't a reflection of you. And if we don't support the children, they're going to grow up feeling guilty and shameful for something that is
yeah,
absolutely out of their hands.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great that, you know, you were able to have those conversations with your kids when they were young and when they were going through school. Um, sorry, just ignore that. Uh, can you hear that? Or
Yes, again.
yeah. Oh, right. Sorry. We'll just ignore it. But I lost track of what I was saying. Yeah, having those conversations young, I think, is really important. I think especially because of what we were saying earlier, when you're at school, that really is a formative time for your identity. You know, who
Yes.
you are at school kind of not completely defined, but definitely has an impact on then who you are in life. And
Mhm.
definitely like who you are straight after school when you're going to college, when you're in your
Yeah.
20s, blah, blah, blah. And so if that becomes somehow linked to something negative or something destructive, especially if it's out of your control, you know,
Yeah.
you can't control what other kids are going to say, that can be really damaging, I think.
Yeah. Yes. And, bullying, I think, is something that, again, the bullier is generally somebody that is ignorant or in pain.
Mm,
Right. So ignorance, being taught to bully, and no consequences or accountability for what comes out of their mouth or actions. Really mean bullies, malice bullies, it's their own pain that they're inflicting on other people. And
yeah,
you become an easy target because you're different. And so
yeah,
it's an easy thing for them to do. And really, quite honestly, it's shoot that they're not dealing with, they're imposing on other people rather than dealing with it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
whoever we are and whatever we're going through, whether we like it or not, we've got to own it. We've got to
mm,
own it. It is our issue to conquer. It's our issue to deal with. It's our issue to heal from or liberate from, right? And in doing so, we can then shed light on the subject for other people to see things from a different point of view. But you chose at 14, I'm not going to put up with this BS anymore. I'm just going to be who
yeah,
I am. They can take me or leave me. And then, even from there, all the things that happened to you, you've put it in a book to bring that awareness to other people. So you haven't
yeah,
just sat there moaning and bitching about it. You have put it in a book to go, are you aware of what you're doing, of the effect that it has?
yeah,
And that we need to stop and think before we do things. And now, I got criticized by saying that I'm, quote, colorblind. I don't care what casing somebody comes in. It is your
mm-hmm,
culture. I want to know what your culture is, but I'm so much more interested in your character, your heart, your soul, your spirit, the
yeah,
essence of who you are. So whatever casing comes in, that's just fascinating, how did it affect your life, or how did it even
Hmm.
enhance what it is you bring to the table? But then
Hmm.
I even got criticized on that because, well, no, you're not seeing color. And it's like, somewhere along the line, a lot of people do not know, well, what is the right thing to say? What
Yeah.
is, and are you going to piss everybody off? And how do we have this conversation where we can travel that road, where we come across not as something that is detrimental, that really is inquisitive, and that we can get over it and have conversations about life without feeling that heaviness and that weight on our side. And I think it's
Yeah.
for me, it's just like I see you as a person, and
Yeah.
fascinating the color or whatever you come into. That's your culture. That's part of who you are and what you bring forth. But
Yeah.
why are we constantly looking at color first?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's an interesting question. How can we have that conversation? I mean, one of the arguments I make in the book is against the sort of exoticization of being mixed. For example, I would say I'm not inherently more interesting than someone else who's the same age as me in this country who's white just because I'm not white. It's like, of course, I'll have different experiences, but if that becomes the focal point of why people want
Yeah.
to talk to me or get to know me, then that is problematic
Yes.
because it is placing people of color in a different category than white people, even if it's
Mm.
unknowing. And
Yeah.
even if it's attempted, even if it's a positive intention of, I want to get to know you, I want to know about the culture, but it's like, well, I'm British. I've grown up in the UK my whole life. So my culture is the same as any other British
Yeah.
person of my age.
Yes,
It's not
exactly.
inherently more interesting or exciting because it's informed by my ancestors.
Mm.
And I think that can be something that even when people are innocently trying to learn more or whatever, it's like sometimes there is a way that it's still placing people of color in a different box somehow, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Oh,
And
yeah, it completely makes sense. Again, why can't they see you? Not the
yeah,
casing,
yeah,
you. Why don't they want to have a conversation with you? Why do they? I feel your energy.
right,
I'm really intrigued. I want to get to know you.
exactly,
Again, not
yeah.
the
And it's
casing, right?
yeah, just meeting people as who they are.
Yeah.
And if someone wants to talk about their background or someone wants to
Yeah.
say, I'm mixed race, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
then that's different. But I think it's about not
Not the
automatically
first.
assuming.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not making it the first thing, not assuming, and also just not needing to know.
Yeah.
If you see a family that doesn't look like whatever you think of as typical family in your head, it's about not asking. And if people want to bring that, that's fine. Same as if someone has a different gender presentation or different um it, any sort of different presentation from whatever you think of as I mean, like the general you, not you specifically,
Yes.
obviously, then whatever you're expecting, it's about just going with that.
Yeah.
We probably all have a default in our head. This is what a doctor looks like, or this is
Mm.
what a teacher looks like, or this is what a mother looks like, or whatever. And all of that will have been informed from stuff
Yes.
probably when we were in very, very early childhood. And
Or even
so
in our DNA, just like,
yeah, even our DNA.
yeah.
My mum will sometimes say stuff like, you know, oh, this person looked very young for whatever it is they're doing, or whatever. And it's like, well, I don't think they look young, but like that's your idea of who a college professor is different to mine, or something like
Right.
that, based on what things were like when you were at college versus what things were like when I was at college, and so on and
Yes.
so forth. It's
And
about
for
just
their
not.
perspectives, for someone to be teaching at college would have been more in their 40s because they would have had to wait for
Mhm.
people to retire, this or that. And now we are seeing younger people. Oh, we're seeing younger people. That's great.
Yeah,
But yes, each generation is going to see things from their experience, right?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
on both sides, my next book is Our Forgotten Seniors, which is about seniors sharing their triumphs and their contribution, but their struggles of
Right.
being a senior, the warning to your age about preparing for your seniorship because it catches
Yeah.
up with you, right? And I think what we, just as we look at racism of being skin, we also see ageism, where we
Yeah.
also start looking at people, well, you're too young to achieve that, you don't know, or you're
Yeah.
too old, you need to go out to pasture, or you're too this, or you're too that. And it's all your twos that we need to just take away and throw away and look at the individual and go, good for you for achieving this and going after it at whatever age, at whatever,
Yeah.
whoever you are. Why can't we turn things around and start celebrating each other no matter what,
Yeah.
right? Instead of immediately condemnation, judgment, belittling, demeaning.
Yeah.
Why are those the actions that come to the forefront instead of celebration?
Yeah. 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 I think that sounds like a really interesting book. Did you say that's the next book that you have
It's the
coming
next
out?
book I'm gathering authors for right now. I'm gathering
Yeah.
seniors to be a part of it. And I think, I'm a senior, but, there's still so much more we've got to give. And the thing
Yeah.
is, we have gained the wisdom through our journey of life in order
Yeah.
to share that. You've gained your wisdom through your journey of life, and you're willing to share it as a point of view that you want people to see. Would you
Yeah.
please be aware that when you say that or do this or do that, it's maybe offensive, but it also makes me feel small because I don't feel
Yeah.
you're seeing me, you're seeing my casing. As I keep
Yeah.
calling the body flesh the casing, right? And
Yeah.
it's the same with people that are either young or middle-aged or elder. We have just become so incredibly judgmental as a human
Hmm.
race. And it's like, get over yourself. Who are you to judge? We can
Yeah.
have 100% on accountability. We've all got to be accountable for our actions. We've all done something that, God, I wish I hadn't done that. Wish I hadn't said that.
Yeah. Of
And we're
course.
saying it
Mm.
from where we're at. But if we're accountable for it and we own it and we learn from it, right? Doesn't mean we're not going to make more mistakes, but we are aware and take that
Yeah.
accountability. And because it's always about learning, no matter who, what, and where you are in the world. Why can't we start seeing the heart, the soul, and the spirit of a person instead of
Yeah.
this goddamn labeling that we see constantly?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really powerful message. Can we just get past these things and start
Yeah.
to communicate on a different level? I
Yes.
think the kind of work that people are trying to do now to highlight marginalized voices
Mm,
is really important for that reason,
yeah.
particularly because, in current society and media, it's so fast moving. Things have a sort of viewership level of, like half a day before it's replaced by something
Yes.
else in a feed or
Yes.
whatever. We've really moved into this very short term thinking, very reactive state
Very.
rather than being able to live with things or learn things or even
Become
just
headliners.
consuming. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It's all just what's the headline, and there's
Yeah.
no sort of
Yeah. No
we're
content.
forgetting how to contextualize things or
Mm,
how to research things properly. We're losing media literacy at the rate of knots since
mm.
AI came in. It's really terrifying, and not imagining a world where we're not listening to a broad spectrum of voices on different issues is quite scary. And if we can only listen to what we're being told from the very top, it's concerning about where we would then end up,
Yeah.
I think.
I've had many, many people tell me with my podcast, they've got to be, 10 minutes or 15 minutes or half an hour max because nobody's got the attention span. And I said, but that's not my clientele. I'm
Yeah.
I'm here for the people that really want to listen, really want to learn, and really want to
Yes.
apply. They're looking for knowledge. They're looking to be awoken. They're looking for something they can apply. And they are
Yeah.
giving it one of the greatest things that we can give things, time. If we're not
Yeah.
willing to give time to something, to understand it, how it affects us, how does it enlighten us, how can we use it? If we're not willing to give knowledge time, we'll never
Hmm.
acquire wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really important. Things do need time and things
Hmm.
need things just need time to grow and change and adapt. You know, you can't get the measure of something in like a quick snapshot, I don't
No,
think.
no. You can get an energetic boost from
You can
something.
get the
That's,
idea, yeah,
yeah,
the
the
headline.
inspiration begets invitation. Oh, that's invitational. I want to know
Yeah,
more. But so many
yeah,
people are just caught on the headline, next, next, next.
yeah,
And where is the content of the more? We don't, as you said, the reading and the listening and the paying attention or the applying. It's like, but no, you fix me, you fix me. Oh no, it's your fault, it's your fault. No,
yeah,
accountability. What are you going to do about it? You
yeah,
don't
yeah,
like where you're at. You don't like what's happening to you. You don't feel seen. What are you going to do to be seen?
yeah, yeah,
You've written a book,
yeah.
but that's
And
not the sum of you. That is just capitalizing what you've been through. And I'm sure from writing the book and taking that journey, there's so much more that you've learned about yourself, your own courage,
yeah,
your own strength, your own resilience, and perhaps even your own meaningful purpose. But you took that journey, you gave it the
yeah,
time in order to share it with people to understand better, right?
yeah,
This is just your
yeah, for
chapter in
sure.
life right now. It doesn't mean it's going to be your forever chapter.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting actually, because obviously a lot of people were like, when I began writing the book, I was in my 20s, like, how are you writing a memoir in your 20s? Like, you haven't
Yeah.
even done anything. Like,
Yeah.
what? And I was like, I'm not even talking about every aspect of my life. I'm talking
Right.
about one aspect of my life. And I'm just making sure I take the time to explain it properly so that
Mm.
you understand what I'm talking about. And it's not even, it's like a 23-year period or something that's covered in the book. And it's only the stuff that is relevant to being mixed race. It's not
Yeah.
like I'm talking about my love life or
You're
every
right.
pet I've had or whatever. Like
Right.
that's not, it's not all these details. And even then it's like, yeah, that is a full book if you want to explain it properly,
Mm-hmm.
taking time, even as brief as I was trying to be and as ruthless as I was in editing, it's like, yeah, there's still a whole book to tell the story properly.
Yes.
And I wanted to tell it properly. I didn't want to dash it off and like, miss bits out. It's like, no, it's important to have the full context because if
Mm.
you don't understand the full context, you don't understand the full issue.
Did you see the TV series, the six-part TV series Adolescence?
Mm-mm.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend. It's about a young boy that kills a young girl.
Right.
And each episode is taken from a different perspective. The cop, the parent, the kid with the psychiatrist, other kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it gives you a rounder picture. Now it's gut wrenching. It's
Yeah.
scary because it's all about goddamn emojis and the like little symbols and how they can trigger somebody because it means something.
Right.
It's a slight, and it's a world that many adults do not understand because these
Right.
things, as you said, are made up from day to day. Like what was, this emoji meant this last week, it means this week.
Yeah.
And if somebody used that emoji, it's like somebody thumping you, and I've got to get back at them. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all how that comes about. Brilliant actor, the young guy in it. But the whole point of it is shedding light on something that's become so prevalent out there from something
Yeah.
so small that, and then the parents were good parents. This wasn't like
Yeah.
bad parenting. This was just a child that felt lost and was slighted and
Right.
reacted. And is how many people out there feel like that and they don't know what to do with it. And they
Yeah.
go and commit a crime or a violent act that wouldn't have been something they would have done, but they
Yeah.
had no other tools. We need a book like yours out there to educate people on
Mm.
you are setting a child up, maybe for a violent act when they feel unheard, unseen,
Mm-hmm.
persecuted, and feel that the only thing they can do is commit violence because nobody's hearing them. So we
Yeah.
need to look at it. Yes, is that the extreme? But if you look at what's going on,
Yeah.
it's happening. And so we need to put a stop to that by listening to the child.
100%. Yeah. yeah, if you make somebody feel shunned and other all their life,
Hmm.
what does that do to a person?
Yeah.
Like, I think I consider myself lucky that I don't know where it came from, but I've just always had this like sense of trust and this deep, deep self-love for myself. But things could have been very different for me. I could have continued, I could have internalized the messages I was receiving that I
Yes.
was gross and ugly, that I was horrible, that I didn't fit in, that I wasn't supposed to be here, that I wasn't supposed to be in this country, that I wasn't part of this society. All these messages that I hear and still hear, I could have internalized that. And who would I be then? A very
Yeah.
different person. When I
Well,
was
as I said,
writing it,
at 14, deciding to love yourself, that is so rare, darling. So
yeah,
rare.
it could have
Yeah.
gone really the other way.
Yeah.
Like when I eventually got to therapy, my therapist was like, a lot of people, she's like, I've treated a lot of people that have dealt with similar things, and you could wind up like with severe personality disorders
Yeah.
or severe depression, addiction problems, all these kinds of things. And I obviously dealt with different things that I talk about in the book, most notably like depression when I was a bit older. But I think on the whole, I do count myself lucky, grateful for the privileges I've had that have allowed me to continue to like do my best to look after myself and try
Mhm.
and survive and get through those kinds of things. I think I have a lot of empathy for people who internalize those messages because you do hear them
Yeah.
constantly.
Yes.
If you're not even verbal and you've already learned that you're not supposed to be in your own family and that you're
Mm.
not even supposed to be in society,
Yeah.
and when you see images of the stuff around you, you see other people going to school, you see images of people at home, whatever, like on TV and films, and you're not in them. And you think, well, why am I here then? I'm some sort
Yeah.
of error. I'm some sort of aberration.
Yes.
Like, where am I supposed to be? I'm obviously not supposed to be here. Or there'd be a depiction of it somewhere.
Right.
Someone would be like, oh, you're supposed to be. If you have that before you're even verbal, and
Mm.
then you get a bit older and people ask you, well, what are you? Where are you from? Where do you come from? And you have no response. What does that do to someone? Well, obviously I know because that's what happened to me,
Yes.
but it really can set you on a path of just not being able to form an identity. I think I consider myself lucky that I did achieve like the identity formation completion, like
Mm.
in my sort of teenage years, in my 20s, when I was doing all the research for the book, like from a psychological and like
Mm.
sociological perspective, what happens to people who don't achieve identity formation? It can really destroy someone. That can just take over your whole life because you don't know who you are. And it's like, if you don't know who you are, how can you do anything else? How can you find a purpose? How can you
Yeah.
find a direction? How can you move forward at all? And then time is moving forwards and you're like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And
Mm.
it's just terrible. So I really have a lot of empathy for people that wrestle with issues like that and issues of feeling stuck or feeling outside, whether it's to do with race or not.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, everyone has struggles. And it's like if one of your struggles is not fitting into the society that you're in, of course you have all the normal human struggles, like maybe
Mm.
you've got to earn money, you have illness, whatever, all the daily things that we'll go through, heartbreak, whatever. But then you have all this other stuff as well of just like, but
Yes.
who am I? This existential stuff.
Yes.
And I
Now
really
this.
hoped when I was writing, oh, sorry,
No, go ahead.
I just to finish what I was saying, I was going to say, I really hoped when I was writing that anyone that had felt those things, I thought for a lot of people, this book is just explaining sort of who I am and what's going on. But for some of those people, I'm trying to write a manual. Like, you can get out of this. I
Mm.
did. Here's what I did.
Yeah. But it's just representation. And
Yeah.
you look at Trevor Noah, who wrote the book Born a Crime. He
Yeah.
was Swiss and black, and of course, if
Yeah.
he was hardly allowed out in public because they could have arrested his mother because he didn't
Yeah.
look black enough, right? Barack Obama, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many times, does Mr. Voldemort still bring up his birth certificate, and how many
Yeah.
people hated him just because he was half black? And he rose above it because he knew his identity, he knew what he was here for. but it became everybody else's issue. And that's the point we need to understand. It's their issue. Do not accept their imposition on you, right?
Yeah.
Either they are willing to have a conversation and understand
Hmm.
what their reaction is or what their action is towards you, or not, and it's raising your bar of boundary, not border, boundary around you, your
Yeah.
energetic boundary that just doesn't allow them to penetrate in. But it still goes
Yeah.
back to our own accountability. Why are you so hung up on this
Yeah.
person being of a different color? I mean, we've got the other pendulum swinging right now, where all people of any color whatsoever totally hating white people. I
Mm.
can't blame them because what we're seeing the actions of what white people are doing right now, but they're not representing me,
Hmm.
right? So it is again going back to stop, packaging everybody up in one bag and throwing it in the trash. Look to the individual. Get to know the
Mm.
individual. As I said, everybody goes through struggles no matter what color they are. But if we get to know each other from a heart, soul, and spirit center, we will truly see each other and also be there to support each other no matter what we're going through because of society's stupidity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is stupid, folks. Come on, think about it. It is, right? Oh, just, you've got Mexicans, and it's like, please. I agree. And I had this talk with someone the other day here in Canada on Vancouver Island. Somebody talking about Mexicans, should all be killed, and it's like,
Mm.
oh, because of the violence. And I said, okay, there is violence in every race. And if you want to look at it, the white man actually has probably killed more people than anybody ever, right? So,
Yeah. Of course.
so
Yeah.
it's not. We have violence in every society, in every color, in every creed, in every country. We need to address the violence. What's causing the violence? Generally, poverty,
Yeah.
lack of education, lack of support, and segregation of some kind. If we became
Yeah.
more inclusive and we looked at raising the village and supporting the families and supporting the community, there wouldn't be so much violence. And
Yeah.
those that like violence for violence sake, that is a defect, a default in them. That's an
Yeah.
excuse, right? But to say that this race and that race, because a few people committed violence, so therefore everybody is bad. I'm sorry, folks, get over yourself. Get over yourself.
Mm. Mm.
That is your ignorance, and it's damning and it's hurting people, and we need to wake up.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't live by the sort of stereotypes that are prescribed or
Yeah.
presented to us. Mm.
Stop buying the hysteria,
Yeah.
right? We know that fear sells. It's their form of control over us. The more
Right.
afraid we are, the more we look at everybody suspiciously. We're now become, strings that they're pulling,
Right.
and then we turn against each other. This is being said and spoken about time and time again. Take ownership of your own thoughts, your own actions, your own heart consciousness, and decide for yourself if you wish to turn away from someone, not because of their color, but because
Yeah.
you maybe don't like their character or their personality, they're not your kind of person. But it's
Yeah.
not because of their color, because somebody told you to be afraid. That's
Yeah.
just that's just ignorance. And we
Yeah.
have to own that ignorance.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's about accepting, maybe everything I've been told was not correct.
Exactly.
What happens if I start asking some questions? Why are
Yes.
we not being told about this?
Right.
Why have I been told to fear this person?
Mm,
Why have I been told that we can't have this person here? Why have I been told that they don't fit in? What's my
mhm.
actual experience with that person versus what I've been told?
Yeah.
And why, if people are angry, why are they angry? Why are
Right.
they frustrated? Like, I know there's lots of talk in this country about like, oh, if people don't like it here in the UK so much, then why have they come over to the UK? And it's like, what? Well, let's look at, where have they come from? Why is their economy decimated?
Yeah.
Who was occupying them for several centuries? Why
Right.
have they come here? Why is this where they've come to like make my, I don't know. There's just a lot of interlinked questions. And if we stop contextualizing things, we stop
Mm.
asking questions, as you say, if we just take whatever the prescribed imagery is that we're handed, we're not gonna get anywhere. We need to bring back critical thinking and
Oh God, do we need to bring back critical thinking and conversation and not damnation?
historical
Yeah,
contextualization. Yeah,
exactly. We've got
yeah,
so many migrants that are environmental migrants. And
right.
so what are we doing if there are countries struggling with lack of water or this or that? Why are we not, as other countries that are richer, going in there and helping them to survive? They don't want to leave their culture and their country, right? I'm an
Yeah,
immigrant twice, nearly thrice. I tried going to America, but it backfired. I did live there for a while, but I went from England to South Africa to here, and I was going back to the States. So, believe it or not, I got persecuted for having.
yeah,
Um, I left because of apartheid and misogyny. South Africa is a beautiful country, but I couldn't take that anymore. And I got persecuted here in Canada for having him the passport permanent resident of South Africa. And
right.
so they kept throwing out my application
Oh
until
wow, okay,
somebody I knew in the consulate, said, new passport, it's out of your passport, new documentation. That took 5 years, all because of
right.
that judgment. I'm not in South Africa anymore. I left.
Hmm.
So you don't look at that, you're right. And
Yeah, yeah,
again,
yeah,
it's somebody's decided to pass judgment without understanding or questioning. And how dare we? How dare we be judge and jury
yeah,
without knowledge, right?
yeah.
And so I think there's a lot that society needs to own and step up to. And you presenting a book like this that is talking about, and you are the lucky one. You are. You're the lucky one because at 14, you decided, I'm not going to let them persecute me anymore. I'm going to love myself
Yeah,
despite them. 13 and 14 and 15 is a time where kids want to fit in and will do anything to fit in and not stand out.
yeah,
And they'll go
yeah,
completely the other way. And so, that courage and that strength that you found within yourself is rare. And that's the reason why you've written this book too. But bringing about this awareness now where people need to have this conversation is desperate right now. We need
mm,
this conversation around the world
hmm,
because we need to take a good hard look at ourselves and go,
yeah,
am I unknowingly doing this? Am I unknowingly passing judgment or saying the wrong thing or not being inclusive? Is it just something that's so inherent in me in the way I've been brought up? I'm unaware that I'm doing it. Because again,
yeah,
awareness is careness, and from careness, there's action. So
yeah,
you can't be unaware once you're aware, folks. But but then that's another thing. There are people who don't want to be aware because that means they have to be accountable.
yeah.
So again, it all goes back to have a good conversation with yourself in the mirror. And you can't pull the wool over your own eyes when you're looking at yourself in the mirror,
Yeah,
folks.
you've got to be honest with yourself. Yeah, yeah,
So what's the next chapter? You've this book has obviously been out for 3 years. You're still doing wonderfully the circuit and educating on this. Have you been asked
yeah,
to talk in schools? Because I think that is a great place to start at the elementary level. Um, you know,
yeah, yeah. I've done a few. I've been grateful to do several talks and interviews with people and sort of spread the message. I've done a few bits and pieces in schools. I've been asked to write a book for children, which I'm still thinking through
yeah.
because I think for older children and teenagers, I personally think my book is fine.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's marketed towards adults, but I do think it would be a fine one for teenagers to read. There's nothing like
Yeah.
particularly explicit or not safe for teenagers. And so I'm grappling with why is it that we want to over sanitize difficult issues, in my opinion? Like, how do we broach these issues with children? So that's something I'm thinking about before I begin working on that. And then, um, as we know from the book, I trained as a musician and a performer.
Yes.
And I think that's where my heart sort of really lies. is in just doing creating work basically. So creating the book did feel like creating a piece of work, and then I'm working more in music and theatre now that things are running up again. Obviously, post COVID, it
Hmm.
was good to have different kinds of projects that I could work on during COVID when there was obviously no live events happening.
Exactly. A
So
little
my
hard.
normal world, yeah. So it's been good to be able to do that and trying to link things together. And yeah, I think for me, it always comes down to when I'm making something is like, does it feel true? Is the story true? So the book was really easy to write because it's obviously very true. It's just my life as I went through it. It's true, and there was nothing else I needed to find or like
Hmm.
fabricate or whatever. Whereas if I'm making a theatre show, it's a bit of a different process where it's like, okay, so what does this story need in order to make it true? And so I've just been working on, yeah, a bunch of different projects basically, on different themes. I think all of them in one way or another feel like they fit in the same fabric of the world of not quite white,
Yeah.
because that the way that I see myself as this like multi-layered interactive thing is kind of
Hmm.
how I feel about all of the work that I make as well. They all
Hmm.
feel like extensions of me
Yeah.
in some way, which is the only way I know how to make work.
And
I'm
that's the only
sure
way
other,
you're meant to make it work, you
yeah,
know?
I'm
That's,
sure, you talk to lots of authors and I'm sure everyone's got a completely different process, but that's mine.
yeah, and it's honest and true. And that's,
Yeah.
must have been gut-wrenching at times. And of course, when it comes to children's books, it's taking the gist of it, but graphics, pictures, because
Hmm.
that's what really speaks. Um, I'm already reading anti-bullying books to my 4-year-old grandson.
Mm.
And it's interesting, he'll ask me to read it again. And he kind of trying to grapple with it and trying to understand it. And it's the more you read it, the more they kind of get to understand what it is. But pictures really are big on that. I want to introduce you to a couple of people that I think could help you along that line, both
Oh,
musically and
lovely.
also they both well, one is in London and the other
Oh,
one
great.
she's in and out. Um, she's both of them are actually in the book and our Forgotten Children book, and yeah,
Oh, lovely.
so I think both of them would be really, really beneficial in helping you with that, but also with the musician who is East Indian, right, who's traveled the world. And
Oh,
she
wow.
did a song a day for 1,000 days, and then did a song a
Wow.
day of children's songs for 1,000 days. And then she took
Incredible.
those songs for children and put them in 4 volumes of books, 250 in each one of them. And
Wow.
for her, she knows that both of them they know. They both come from a different background, so they both know exactly what it's about. But may be able
Yeah.
to give you some insight. And that's something that I really do promote is people coming together as a
Mm.
community. You bring your gift, they bring their gift.
That's
And when you
beautiful.
share all of
Mm.
those gifts, it becomes a feast for other people. And I think that there are many people out there that relate to what you're doing and
Hmm.
coming together to expand the voice on it. And I know there's a song there that you've got to do. If you
Mm.
haven't already done it, you've got to write a song on this. Um,
Yeah.
that it's all about helps you with the next level, and that's what it's about. It's being there for each other. I do not believe in competition or comparison.
Hmm.
I can compare apples and oranges only as like what do I feel like today. And competition should be for games, not competing with someone, not comparing with someone. Each
Yeah.
one of us is a beautiful instrument in the orchestra of life, and that orchestra is only as strong as each instrumentalist's strength and the willingness to come together in harmony. And that's what I want to see is more people in their own beautiful instrument coming together in harmony.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I agree. I'm very community focused. I think I heard it said once that community is the enemy of capitalism, and I
Yeah.
really try and live my life with that in mind.
Yes.
Community over competition,
Mm,
community over scarcity mentality, community
yes.
over fear.
Yeah.
That's something that's
Collaboration. That's where the strength
collaboration.
is.
Yeah, it's very
Yes.
important to me.
Yes. And
Mm,
compassion
yeah,
and caringness. Yes. All those C's.
yeah.
Absolutely. And when we realize that we empower ourselves by empowering others, that's
Hmm.
when we truly are loving energy really resonates. And then, that's when you get to a point where people will feel you before they see you. And when they
Yeah.
see you, they won't see the difference. They will see the energy of you. And
Right.
and then it's that energy that they're drawn to no matter what the casing is. And they see beyond the casing at that point because they feel you and they want to know
Yeah.
more. And it's like, don't be afraid, whoever you are out there, no matter what color or background you come from, don't be
Yeah.
afraid to be your heart, soul, and spirit. Be your beautiful essence of who you are. You are enough. You are purposeful.
Yeah.
Step into your own light because it becomes a beacon for someone else.
Yeah. That's a lovely phrase. I've not heard that one before. Step into your own light because it becomes a beacon for someone else. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna take that one.
Go ahead. Go ahead. That's what it's about, shedding light for others to see. Your book
Yeah.
isn't to condemn or persecute anyone. It is just simply to make them aware of
Yeah.
what they lack in knowledge can hurt other people. And that
Yeah.
even if they don't know someone per se, but they see someone being bullied or treated wrong in a shop or anywhere else, stand up for them, please. Stand up
Yeah.
for them, right? That's
Yeah.
what it's
100%.
about. So the
Yeah.
music is going to continue, and
Yep.
you're going to be writing this book for the children, which I think is a brilliant idea because the
Yep.
younger we get them, and what you're doing now is giving the teachers and the parents the tool to help their children understand it. But while they're reading it to the children, they're educating themselves.
Yes. Yeah. Which is a really beautiful way of being able to affect change, I think, if
Yes.
people can educate themselves at the same time as educating someone else.
Yeah. And
Mm.
learning while you're, oh, I was unaware of this. And then
Yeah.
becoming more aware as your children how they react with other people and been able to call them out on it, not in persecution, but in education, because you're
Yeah.
seeing it. But if you're not seeing
Yeah.
it, you're not going to call your children out on anything, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So we need to turn the clock back to right when the babas are young
Yeah.
and how we nurture our children moving forward. A child is not born racist.
Right.
It's simply not.
Yeah, it's learned. It's a
Learned.
learned thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Children do not are not born violent
Or it's
with,
hateful. No.
multiple prejudices. Yeah, it's a learned quality. It's something that is learned,
Yeah.
and therefore it's something that is also taught,
Yes.
whether consciously or subconsciously. And I think addressing that, finding ways to intervene is really important. Yeah.
Like you've got two different book covers. Um,
Yeah.
because America won't accept your beautiful book cover out of the UK, which is that. And on the show posting, they'll have that one. But when they click on the link, if they're in America, it's a yellow book cover.
Yeah.
But you have a little extra in that one for Americans as well, a little extra chapter or something.
Yeah, I have two extra bits. So the very beginning of the book is me outlining the point in my life where I sort of decided to write a book,
Hmm.
which is the point of my life where I felt like the first chunk of my life had finished. So I really had this sense of a chapter closing. And what I did was, it was my birthday and I wrote a blog post. So before I wrote the book, I was a blogger. And so in the
Me too.
book, the prologue of the book, I'm describing the version of me that wrote that blog post. In
Mm,
the American version of the book, we also have that blog post as like a sort
mm.
of extra feature. It's
Reference.
like the DVD extras of the book. And then
Yeah.
there's also a letter to the readers, which is a bit of a funny one because the epilogue of the book is already dear readers. It's a letter to the readers. I wanted to make sure that I spoke directly to them at the end of the book. In the American version of the book, it's just like it's like a second letter to the readers where I more obviously outline the sort of trail you can follow through the book if you want to. There's all these references and like Easter eggs and little hidden references to stuff, hidden quotations throughout the book if you are familiar with any of my other work. So I thought if anyone wanted to engage, they could follow those little clues. And in the letter, I sort of outlined that a bit more explicitly. So I thought I was like, maybe I was being a bit cryptic, and I just thought it'd be nice. And then I also just talk about the process of, what's different since the book was released. So I think I wrote that letter to the readers mid 2023. No, I guess it was the end of 2023, which was when the American book was when the contract was exchanged. So I probably would have written that around then, which was, I guess, a year and a bit since the original version of the book had come out. So being able to go back and revisit and just say, oh yeah, this is what it was like, and this is what people have asked me, and so on, was quite nice.
Yes.
And I like being able to feel like, because I started from blogging and then obviously working as a live performer and musician on theatre, I like feeling that connection to the audience. And of course,
Yes.
you don't have that as a author at
No.
all. You don't meet all your readers.
No.
You don't watch them reading it in real time. You don't see their response at the end. They're not sitting there applauding when they've read it. So having any way to sort of try and feel like I was connecting to the readers felt really important, because there is so much of myself in the book. It's like I'm putting so much there. I'm trying to connect. I just thought any way to continue that would be just felt really lovely to be able to include. So I was very grateful that the American publishers let me put those things in there for that one. Yeah.
Good. Question, your family in America, have they read the book?
I don't know. It's a very odd thing. So my mum definitely read the book. She's the only one not in America. I believe that my aunt has read it. None of them have really spoken to me since it came out. So I'm like no contact basically with all the white members of my family. The ones that I did speak to prior to the book coming out, yeah, we don't speak anymore. Which is strange. So my mum said that my aunt did read it, and that I think she just so struggled with having to read on paper. I don't know. My interpretation is that she would just so struggled with having to read how her actions had like affected me and my dad and the rest of our family that is brown. I guess just wasn't able to deal with it in any way that allowed her to speak to me about it, which is quite sad, but also it's kind of like that's more about them than it is about me. As you say, I didn't really, I mean, I tried to call out my uncle very much so in the book, which I talk about in detail, because I also very much tried to call him out in life. Like I found his views to be so problematic that I did have this big argument with him when I was like 24, tried to get my mum involved. I was like, you have to do something. He's your brother. I can't listen to this. This is completely bonkers. Like, you're supposed to step it. I'm your daughter. You have to protect me. You have to deal with this. And that whole incident is in the book. And so I'm not trying to demonize anyone, but I also didn't want to be like, his behavior is understandable, because it wasn't. It was unacceptable behavior. And so, but there's no one else I was trying to like directly like target or be like, I hate these people. It's not that kind of a book. I'm trying to present my own experience honestly and truthfully. But I guess for some people, if that makes them feel like they've done something bad or has cause for reflection or something, again, it's like, okay, that's your conscience. That's something going on with you. I can't involve myself in that. Like, you have to work out what that is and deal with it. So yeah, that was quite a long answer to
and
what was really a straightforward question.
Whether he's read it or not, your aunt may have spoken about it, and it's like he doesn't want to take ownership of that, and it is sad because again, when you're aware, step up and apologize. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that this was having this effect on you. That goes an awful long way. Mean it when you say it, please. But understand that just saying, look, I'm unaware. Now, you're not looking to persecute them. You're looking for them to be aware, right? And if they can be man or woman enough to stand up and say, I own it, I'm sorry, I didn't realize this had an effect. My apologies, I will do better.
Right.
That's all anybody really wants, is that acknowledgement that you have not represented yourself well.
Yeah. And I think kind of linked as well to like what we were talking about earlier, the contextualization of things. There's a section where I do talk about my white family. So we had ancestors who went over to India as part of the British Empire, like white ancestors from Scotland, who would have been there at the same time as my ancestors on the other side were being like kidnapped and
Yes.
deported by those same people. And so I do call out in the book that on my white side, it's always like, oh, when they went to India and they had such adventures and blah, blah. And I'm like, it's messed up that we're talking about it this way when we know what they did to all
Yes.
these other people. That's why
Yes.
I talk so much about my great grandfather, who was sent away from India, from his family, by the British when he was 11 to
Mm.
work, which is messed up. And,
Yeah.
neither of those ancestors are in a vacuum. It's not like my brown ancestors are the only people that happened to. It happened to millions of people under British rule.
Yes.
And it's not like our white ancestors are the only people, the only racist British people to prop up the British
Mm.
Empire. Obviously,
Correct.
again, that's the majority, like a huge amount of people. But I think what I was trying to do is be like, here's me, one specific person. Here's the specific people related to me. And
Mm.
I think, again, like my white family were a bit like, okay, no one's ever painted it like that before.
Mm.
Until there was me being like, what about the other people in this story? AKA all the people that were in this country before our lot,
Yes.
collectively, like your lot, but also my lot
Yeah.
turned up. Like, what are we going to say about that? And so it's a bit like, okay, if it was out of sight and out of mind,
Yeah.
Layla, me, I've put it firmly back
Yes.
in sight and in mind, which can be
Right.
a lot for people to deal with. But,
Yeah.
we can't gloss over the context of these things. It didn't
No, we
happen in a
can't keep
vacuum.
going la 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 la. Again,
Exactly,
we've got to own
100%.
it. We've got to
Yeah,
look at something and go, okay, this, just has to change. Uh,
yeah,
and again, we can't change the past. And,
yeah,
I'm not about pulling every monument down because it's about if you take away the monuments, then where's the reference? What we need to do is change the plaque on the monument, slavery, this, that, etc., what they did, and have it be something that is educational rather than trying to
right.
hide history. Um, we know things were done wrong. They were
Yeah,
done in ignorance or in opulence, entitlement uh, of that race at the time, and still trying to happen right now. When you look at almost the genocide that we're seeing going on not only in Gaza but in the States right now with these immigrant compounds,
yeah,
it is inhumane. It is a cleansing that is going on. And
yeah,
again, instigated by, the white man. Is do they
yeah,
never learn? Do they never learn? And at some point we have to break this cycle. And the white man and all those that support them, we have to break the cycle. Equality has to be where everybody can stand up in their own skin, be proud of who they are, why they are, and it's all about your action. Be judged on your action, not on your
yeah.
skin. So there's a long way we've got to go, a long way. But obviously, I feel the children's book, and I know there's a song in there, I can hear it, um, and a
Yeah,
play, and all of that, I feel for you in the next 10 years is going to consume you because it needs to be heard. So I'm predicting that for you. Uh, but
thank
it's a
you.
message that it needs to keep being told. Because yes, you may not want to hear it, but if you don't hear it, how are you going to change? How are you going to
Yeah,
educate the next generation? How are we going to put a stop to this so this cycle doesn't constantly repeat? And we've got
hmm,
to understand that opulence and racism and entitlement are the very core of what everything is wrong. Everything
yeah,
that is, and religion, I'm sorry. Whatever faith you wish to believe in, it's got to be based in love. And if it's based in an agenda, and persecution, then that is not God's message. That's man's interpretation conveniently calling it a
yeah,
religion. And everything has to be accountable. And so once we're aware, we change the way we react and we become more sensitive and more caring, more understanding, more inquisitive, and let go of that judgment, that damning, that persecution, that assumption, and start a conversation.
yeah.
Don't be afraid to, right? Very, very important. Now, how do people get hold of the book? How do they get hold of you, love?
So they can get hold of me. I'm on Instagram or have a website, both of which are my name, Laila Woozeer, L
Can you spell
A
that out? Yeah, thank you.
L A I L A W O O Z E E R. So my website is lailawoozeer.com and my Instagram is at Laila Woozeer _ I do also have a Facebook, which I don't check particularly often. And I'm thinking to get rid of. I don't really like what Meta are doing
Yes.
with their AI stuff. But for now, I have a Facebook. So depending on when your listeners listen, maybe it will still be there, but that's also my name. You can buy the book from basically all retailers or your usual places online. In the US, it's quite a variety of bookshops you can get them from. You can find the full list at the publisher site. So it's published with Indiana University, so IU Press, or you can also look for IU Publishing and it will come up. You can buy it directly from them, which is what I suggest. You can buy it from Amazon, which I usually suggest to avoid. Amazon are doing awful things. I would love for them to have less profit. Although if
Right.
that's the only way that you can buy the book, that's fine.
Where else
Like
is it
it's
being sold,
great to
love?
read it. It's being sold with a lot of like online retailers. So if you have A Books, you can buy it there. World of Books, Barnes and Nobles. If you're in the UK, you can buy it from Waterstones, probably the biggest bookseller that we have in this country. Foyles, yeah, lots of independent bookshops. If you go to your local bookshop and it's not there, you can always ask them. You can also buy it from bookshop.org, which is a really good online platform. They do a lot of work supporting local bookshops and independent booksellers. They're really great. And they have a nice curated system where you can also find similar books. So if you're curious about other books, you can find like a list of other books. I have a link on my website which goes to bookshop.org, where I also then share a lot of books on similar topics if you're curious, and also a lot of books that influence my book. So if you particularly like it, you might find something there that's good.
Exactly. And we're looking at that right now. So I will add that to your platform here. And you're on Patreon as well, and you're also on Spotify.
Yeah, Patreon, Spotify, SoundCloud. I'm on YouTube. Yeah, I've got stuff everywhere. I would say that my website is probably the best place to go if you're curious, because it just sort of rounds everything up there. And then everyone uses different platforms. You can figure out which ones are best for you and find me there.
Right. And
But yeah, I
please,
loved hearing from people.
read the book. I'm always saying to people, have a podcast party, right? Let everybody listen to the podcast, take notes, and, go over a glass of wine, a cup of coffee, whatever, and then discuss it. Because
That's
now you're
great. Yeah.
sharing different perspectives and you're rounding the picture out more. Please share this podcast with other people that you think that really need to do it. Books are a great gift because they keep on giving. Um,
Mm,
Even once you've put the book down, what you've read keeps on giving. And you keep talking about it and keep on sharing. Christmas isn't very far away, folks. Whether it's for birthday or Christmas, and get stocked up on it and give people this book, whether they know somebody of color or not, it's just good for everyone to know. Because again, when you're aware, you care. When you care, you do something about it, and you cannot be unaware once you're aware. So I think this is a book that needs to have discussion, and I think people need to have a book club with it and the whole tutti frutti. So get this discussion going because we need it. We need it. We've got to put a stop to this judgment of skin color, of this judgment of being a woman, the judgment of being gay, the judgment of being poor, the judgment of being educated differently. This just like, please get over yourself. Get over yourself
yeah.
and start seeing each other from the beautiful essence of we are. Ignite your own heart, soul, and spirit and see that in a person. And then their containment is just something they're in. And they can share their
Yeah.
culture and their point of view, but please see them from the inside out. It's time for change, please. So thank you so much for sharing with us here today. That's really, really important message that's out there. And so please, folks, get out there, share, 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 buy the book. It's in audio as well. So if you want to just listen to it while you're doing the housework or taking a long drive or going for a walk, but please make sure that you have a conversation about it. And don't forget, as she said with Orpheus, you don't always get feedback. Whatever platform you've bought it from, leave a comment. State what the book meant for you. Let's keep that conversation going. And of course, you can reach out to her at any time and have a conversation with her as well. So thank you so much, Laila, for being here. And to everyone else out there, We are the change we seek. Let's start with ourselves and then let's express it out. So until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.